empirical formula. It is a simplest mole ratio, right? Let me write down molecular formula again. So, empirical formula is simplest mole ratio, or the simplest formula. Let's say it's a simplest formula where you can take out mole ratio. Alright. So for example, let's say if we have N2O4, so that's the molecular formula that tells you the actual number of atoms in that formula. How about simplest formula of this one? Because the ratio is 2 to 2, so when we take that out, simplest formula, empirical formula of this compound is NO, right? Now, there is a relationship between empirical formula and molecular formula. So when we write empirical formula, we have to multiply N. N is a mole ratio. No, that's not empirical formula. Molecular formula equals mole ratio times empirical formula. That's the relationship between them, right? So if you know NO, and if you know 2 is the mole ratio, N equals 2, then you can say, okay, 2 times NO, and then your molecular formula is N2O2. Alright? So, it's very important. If you have given empirical formula, and if you given N, then you can calculate molecular formula. Okay? So, let's work on one of these problems on this kind. So let's say the empirical formula of a compound is CH if the molar mass of this compound is 78 grams. What is its molecular formula? Okay, so here the CH is given, empirical formula is CH. So when you find out empirical formula mass, carbon is about 12 and hydrogen is about 1, so it's 13 gram per mole. It's empirical formula mass. That's the one we are calculating. Now we need to find out molecular formula mass. So we are going to write the formula for that. You know that molecular formula mass equals N times empirical formula mass. Now we have both. We have molecular formula mass and we have empirical formula mass. Can we calculate N? Right? Simplest ratio. So when we do that, N equals molecular formula mass divided by empirical formula mass. molecular formula mass is given 70, okay, hold on, yes, 78 grams per mole, and empirical formula mass is 13 grams per mole. So we get about 6. Simplest ratio is 6, right? Now we have given empirical formula CH. How do we find out molecular formula? N times empirical formula. So 6 times CH. So what will be the molecular formula? C6H6. So that way you can calculate, first you can find out ratio N, okay, and then you can find out molecular formula if empirical formula is given, okay. Now we are going to work on finding empirical formula from percent composition. One more problem on finding empirical formula. Okay, so let's go to next slide. An organic thiol compound is 38.66% carbon, 9.73% hydrogen, and 51.61% sulfur by mass. What is the empirical formula of this compound? Okay. So first we have given percent composition of each element. So first we assume there is 100%, and that's the grams, 38.66 grams of carbon. So when we find out moles of carbon, we can take 38.66 grams of carbon divided by its mass, which is what? 12.01, and you can find out moles of carbon. Then we can find out moles of hydrogen. Let me write small so I can fit in. Hydrogen we have 9.73 divided by, we have 1.008. You find moles of hydrogen. Now we need to find out moles of sulfur. 51.61 divided by, sulfur is about 32.06. So first you guys need to find out their moles of each element. Moles of each element, and then you can find out the simplest one. So go ahead and calculate. 38.66 divided by 12.01. So 3.2189. Let's say I'm taking all those digits. 9.73 divided by 1.008. 9.6527 and 51.61 divide by 32.06, you get 1.6098. Okay. So now, out of all, which one is the smallest one? The sulfur one, right? This is the least one. So we divide all number by the least ones, least numbers. So 1.6098, 1.6098, 1.6098. Go ahead and find out for each ratio what you get. You got this one is about 2, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And 9.6527 divided by 1.6098. You get this one about 6 and this one is about 1, right? Okay. So that means when you write their empirical formula, carbon you found 2, so you can write C2. Hydrogen you found 6, so H6. And then sulfur you found 1. Okay, let me go back. Sulfur you found 1, so S1. So that's their empirical formula. So in this one, what we did, we count these all percentages into grams and then divide by its atomic mass to find out number of the moles. These are the moles of each element. And then the least moles we divide to find out their simplest mole ratio. So carbon is 2, hydrogen is 6, and sulfur is 1. So that's the thiol formula, and that's how we can calculate it.